What's chill, fight fans? It's fight week for the UFC, so you know what that means. It's going down this Saturday at the Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. What's chill, world? Welcome to episode 2 of Rucker the GOAT, a channel where we cover everything combat sports. I'm your host, K-Ruck, aka Rucker the GOAT. And if you're new to the channel or if you find this video helpful in any way, please consider subscribing and clicking that post notification bell so you'll be the first to know when new content becomes available. Fight fans, UFC Fight Night Overeem vs. Volkov airs this Saturday, February 6th on ESPN+. The prelims start at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the main card will start off at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All coming live from the UFC Apex Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And with that being said, let's start off with the main event of the prelims, Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. This is a very, very interesting matchup because this is a very horrible matchup for Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has 9 losses by submission.
Jesus Christ.
And Clay Guida is a submission specialist. Of Michael Johnson's 20 victories, he has 8 by way of knockout and 2 by way of submission. Michael Johnson is on a 3-fight losing streak, so for one, he has something to prove if he wants to remain in the UFC. On the other hand, this is a very, very bad matchup for him because he's going against Clay Guida. Clay Guida is 35-17. He's also lost his last 2 fights. So this is going to be really interesting. In all honesty, I believe this fight can go either way. Clay Guida if he uses his submissions, or in favor of Michael Johnson if he uses his wrestling. Next we have the first fight of the main card, UFC Fight Night, Overeem vs. Volkov. Diego Ferreira will be facing Beneil Dariush. This one is going to be an interesting grudge match. Let's start off with Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira is 17-2. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. 3 of his victories have come by way of knockout and 7 have come by way of submission. Ferreira is coming off an impressive 6-fight win streak. 3 of his last 5 fights have come by way of stoppage, 2 by submission and 1 by knockout. Let's shift gears over to Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush is 19-4-1. Dariush is on a 5-fight win streak, and 4 of his last 5 have come by way of stoppage. 2 of them coming by way of submission, and 2 of them coming by way of knockout. This is going to be a crazy fight because both of these guys can finish you. I feel this fight is going to be very, very interesting, but if we're being honest, I'm going to have to go with Beneil Dariush because his last 2 fights come by way of knockout. The second fight of the night on the main card will be Cody Stamann versus Andre Ewell. This fight is going to be kind of interesting because both fighters are kind of hit or miss. They either win, they have a win, they have a loss, they have a draw, they have a loss, they have a win. So none of them, no disrespect, but none of them are really, really consistent. So in my opinion, it can go either way. But if I was a betting man, I would have to give the fight a little more to Andre Ewell because Andre Ewell is 3-5 in his last 5 fights. 2 of those wins coming by way of split decision, which is very, very dicey, but at least he won. So if I was a betting man, I would have to give the slight edge to Andre Ewell. Our next fight in the men's flyweight division is coming from Alexandre Pantoja versus Manel Kape. Pantoja has won 3 of his last 5 fights, all of them by knockout. Pantoja is nasty. He's a finisher. He has 8 knockouts. He has 8 submissions out of his 22 victories. That's pretty impressive. 2 of his last 5 has been losses to decision. Shifting gears over to Manel Kape. Manel Kape was a champion in the Japanese promotion called Rizin. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, all by way of stoppage. 3 knockouts and 1 submission. Anything can happen in the UFC. And I believe this fight can honestly go either way because both guys are finishers. It's just, will Manel Kape show up to UFC competition? Because Pantoja, all of his fights are in the UFC. Yes, Manel Kape has 4 of his 5 fights coming in by way of stoppage, but it's not UFC competition, so we'll have to see if he can show up in the UFC. But for me, this one can go either way, so I'm not going to pick a victor. Our next fight comes in the women's bantamweight division between Marion Renaud versus Maisy Shizen. Marion Renaud is 9-6-1. Unfortunately, she's on a 3-fight losing streak. Shifting gears over to Maisy Shizen, She's 7-1 in the UFC. She's won 4 of her last 5 fights. Within her last 5, she has 2 knockouts, she has 1 submission, and to top all of that off, she also has a 5-inch height advantage. So if I was a betting man, I'm going with Macy Chiasson for this one. No cap. Just being honest. Our next fight in the men's bantamweight division makes things get super interesting. This is where things is gonna be. This fight is gonna be incredible. It's gonna be Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. Corey Sandhagen is 5'11". He has a record of 13-2, and he's won 4 of his last 5 fights. His only loss coming to Aljamain Sterling via submission. Shifting gears over to Frankie Edgar. Yes, Frankie Edgar is a former UFC champion, but he's only won 2 of his last 5 fights. In his last fight, it was a close split decision victory versus Pedro Munoz. So when you're going against a killer like Corey Sandhagen, when Corey Sandhagen has a significant height advantage, I'm gonna have to give the slight edge over to Corey Sandhagen. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna be an amazing fight. You're not gonna wanna miss it. And last but most certainly not least, we gonna have the Reem. The main event is Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. This time we're gonna start with Alexander Volkov. Alexander Volkov has won 3 of his last 5 fights. His 2 losses have come from top opposition in Curtis Blaydes and also in Derek Lewis. But all of his 3 victories have come by way of knockout. Alexander Volkov has an amazing build at 6'7" in the heavyweight division, which is a behemoth of a person. Dude's like the same height as a skyscraper, statue, something like that. Then we shift gears over to Alistair Overeem, who's won 4 of his last 5 fights. He should have won all 5. If you saw the fight that he did versus Rosenstruck, he should have won that fight. However, for some reason, he was still fighting. The last 5 seconds of the fight, Rosenstruck throws this wild left hand and it connects. Alexander Overeem lip explodes, and I guess because he fell and he was getting back to, the referee saw that as him getting stopped. But in all honesty, Alexander Overeem was winning the entire fight. He should have won that fight, so he should be 5-5. But on paper, we're gonna go with actual records. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, but all of them is by way of knockout. So you know this fight is not going to decision. If I was a betting man, even though he's 6'4", he doesn't have the height advantage, but this is his last championship run, meaning he's gonna be super hungry. So if I was a betting man, I'm gonna have to go with the Reem. He's gonna win by way of stoppage. I don't know if it's gonna be submission. 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be TKO. Probably 2nd, 3rd round, if I had to guess. But this is gonna be one that you definitely don't wanna miss. It's not going to decision, I can tell you that. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, please leave a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Key Ruck, aka Ruck of the GOAT. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Episode 2 in the books. Ooh. Thanks for watching.